to from my last video on light skin privilege, because I brought it up. In my last video, I talked about how I said light-skinned people who are lighter than a paper bag should not be in the Melanin Monday tags or Melanin Sunday tags, because of the fact that those tags were specifically meant for people who are brown skinned to very dark skinned. And I had a bunch of women just complaining and saying things like I was being divisive, and at a time like this I shouldn't be complaining about light skinned people taking over the melanin tags. And first of all, I can talk about anything I want on my page. I can be concerned with anything I want. For people to sit there and try to get me to talk about another issue as if I'm not talking about Alton Sterling, or I'm not talking about Castile Brown, or I'm not talking about the shooting of the 5 police officers, or I'm not talking about other issues besides light skin privilege or dark versus light. The fact that people want to question my intelligence like that just makes me angry, as if I can't have 99 problems and ignorant light skinned people isn't one of them. Anyway, as I was saying, I had one light-skinned girl who goes by Blasian Bree talking about how, I get colorism, but, I still don't think you should erase our blackness. But it's just so funny. If you get colorism, why is it when we say things like, okay, light-skinned people don't need to be taking over tags like Melanin Monday or Melanin Sunday because of the fact that it's for dark-skinned people, why do they feel the need to try and guilt trip us by saying that we are erasing their blackness? Because we never said anything about their being not black. And eventually, as I and another girl were calling her out and sort of questioning her intent and saying, why do you believe that we're colorist against light-skinned people, or why do you think that we hate light-skinned people, when we're just bringing up privilege and we're talking about the fact that you cannot claim melanin if you're lighter than a paper bag? And she ended up blocking the both of us. And it's like, okay, bitch, willingly be ignorant. And then another woman was like, oh, why do you have a problem with my calling myself melanin because I'm still brown? Bitch, you're fucking light skinned. It's just so funny how light skinned people who are lighter than me, I'm brown skinned, I'm medium brown. Or at least in the summertime when I tan, especially when I go to Charlotte, North Carolina to see my family, I get pretty dark, okay? So I know there are people lighter than me, and they will say you're light skinned, but at the same time, you're brown skin, and they are what they would consider themselves to be yellow. Let me talk a little bit about how people say blackness is relative when it comes to skin tone. How, okay, brown skin is relative, where yeah, you may be considered brown skin here, but when you go to somewhere else, you're light skin. I know when I go to the South, when I go to Charlotte, people may call me a red bone at times. Sometimes people will consider my color a red bone, because in the wintertime, I can get pretty light. I can get close to yellow, or in the wintertime, I'm pretty much paper bag brown, like just right at the mark of paper bag color. I understand that. But in the summertime, I do get darker. When I was younger, I used to be darker than I am now, because I used to go to the pool a lot. I used to go out in the sun because I went to daycares and I went to day camps, and we used to do things outside. So of course I tanned a lot. I was forced to be outside, by the way, because I hated going outside and playing with kids. But anyway, I was a pretty dark kid. I was lighter than a lot of the girls that I went to school with, but at the same time, I was still pretty dark. So for people to sit there and say, well, you're not that dark skinned to begin with, you're light skinned, but it's usually light skinned people much lighter than me, lighter than a paper bag. Any other time they would sit there and say, you're not light skinned, you're brown skinned, why are you calling yourself light skinned? Do you want to claim that you're light skinned? Like, I see so many people saying that brown skinned people are always false claiming light skin. But then when it's convenient to invalidate the fact that I experience colorism, or I feel like, there's not enough girls my color or girls darker than me represented, then it's like, oh, you're not dark skinned, you're light skinned. Just because they can't really say, oh, well, you're dark skinned, so fuck your feelings. They can't really employ colorism the way that they want to, so they'll try to pretend that I'm not that dark skinned to invalidate the fact that I do feel pain for the fact that some people feel that my brown skin is inferior to their yellow skin. Like, there's a difference between being brown skin and being yellow. There's people where you would look at someone and say they are yellow. As a black person, in black context, yellow means light skin. In black context, brown is like my color or darker. And people know that. Yes, I'm considered a lighter shade of brown, and I do have conditional light skin privilege. But at the end of the day, to sit there and to be a light skinned person trying to decide, oh, well, you're not that dark skinned, as if it should be a compliment, by the way. As if, oh, because I'm not that dark skinned, I should just be smiling and happy. Absolutely not. I will not be happy at the fact that I'm less oppressed. You know? Anyway, I just had a bunch of people just harassing me, men calling me stupid, and light-skinned girls kicking it up with them, but didn't want to play innocent, like, but we're sisters, why do you hate us? Like, I hate you because you do this shit all the time. You want me to have solidarity with you, but didn't want to gaslight me on colorism. And then when I was trying to explain to this one woman, very nicely, by the way, about why I had a problem with very light-skinned people claiming the melanin tags, she was like, oh, you're outraged over that. First of all, bitch, you said you didn't understand why I was upset, so I told you why I was upset. I explained it to you. Then you try to switch it around like, well, it's really not something you should be upset about. So really, bitch, you do know, you do understand, but you just don't care. You know, don't say anything. Don't even come at me. Because if you don't give a fuck, then don't sit there and try to make it like you do give a fuck. Don't ask me, oh, what's the big deal? I don't understand. Like, why do you feel this way? And then when I tell you, well, it's not a big deal, because you're asking me why. You're making it like my complaints are illegitimate. And when I tell you they are, you try to switch it around like, oh, well, they are legitimate, but it's really not that big of a deal. And then she tried to say that I was outraged. When I say I'm not outraged, she's like, fake outrage, false outrage, still the same. Okay, so you're a little pretty light-skinned bitch trying to make me the ugly, mean, brown-skinned bitch, the mean bully, because I'm so outraged, I'm angry. And I said, you know what, you might as well call me the angry black woman, because that's what you want to do. She's like, well, I'm not trying to say that. Obviously, you got some deep-seated issues. You think, fucking bitch? I'm so sick and tired of it. I'm so sick and tired of people saying, you got fucking issues. Yes, I got fucking issues. Like, people will really push you off the edge and then make you go all types of erratic and wild and, you know, have you explode and then be like, damn, you crazy, you need help. Like, yes, I got issues, but it's not helping when you are just coming at me all types of ways. You're not helping me. So, like, don't sit there and say you got issues, but you're not doing anything about it. You're just making me more angry and you're triggering me. Like, ugh. But like I said, about light skin privilege, I was talking about it on my Twitter, and then one of my friends from school even said, hey, can you explain this thread to me? Or they were kind of like, explain this thread to me. So I was like, okay, DM. So I talked about it with him, and I said, you know, I'm not trying to be mean, you know, it's just the fact that just light-skinned people are ignorant. They're ignorant about their privilege. They want to claim to be Jesse Williams and Zendaya, but they don't have the empathy that Zendaya and Jesse Williams have. They at least understand their privilege. So many light-skinned people think that Jesse Williams and Zendaya are a reflection of all light-skinned people. Only a few light-skinned people really get it or want to listen. Zendaya, as I said, she could have easily said, well, fuck your feelings, you know, you mad because I'm light-skinned. Everyone says I'm not black enough, and she could have just went her ignorant merry way, but she didn't. She decided to listen. Now she's here saying that, yes, I do have light skin privilege, and Cosmopolitan magazine, I believe. So, you know, you go, Zendaya. You're using your privilege for good, and for her to champion dark-skinned girls, for her to do things for dark-skinned girls, to remind them that they are beautiful regardless of their skin color. I really think that Zendaya is a good role model for black girls. And I think Jesse Williams does so much for the black community and helps black women. He champions black women. He really does. He's someone that actually shows that he cares about black women. I'm not just talking about, okay, he married a black woman, although it helps a little bit. It's just the fact that he really means what he says. He really means what he says. So, you know, I do respect Jesse Williams and Zendaya. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I kind of sent a comment to Jamila Lamu, or I don't know, she's the editor of Essence, and she had made a comment that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I wasn't rude, I wasn't disrespectful to her. I was just saying, like, you know, there's a reason why some people don't want the light-skinned biracial savior all the time, and she had replied to me, and I said, I agree with everything you are saying, because, like, all the time I say light-skinned people are black people. I say all the time that biracial people are black people. I don't like to follow people, black men are or black women that say things like, black women, you need to stop embracing biracial women or light-skinned white passing women as black because that's why colorism exists. No, it doesn't. Colorism doesn't exist because there are some black women who look like Mariah Carey or Halle Berry. That's not why colorism exists. And I really wish you would stop blaming that on biracial women. I don't think you should blame colorism on biracial women. I don't. I say it all the time because there aren't just light-skinned biracial women. There are dark-skinned biracial women. I always bring that up. I always say that light-skinned people are black. I always say that biracial people are black. I say all the time that if you have a black parent, you are black. You are considered black. I don't care. You are black. You know, even if you're 1/4 black, if your parent is biracial and identifies as a black person, you too are black. You have the right to ID as black. I get so many people coming to my anons on my blog asking me, you know, I don't feel comfortable claiming black because I don't want to offend black people. And I say, how are you offending black people? Because you are embracing who you are. It's not about making people comfortable. If you are black, you are black. I say it all the time. I tell people to not erase Kalani as a black woman. I tell people not to erase Logic as a black person, as a black man. I tell Halsey or Halsey fans, you know, not to erase Halsey, a white passing woman, as black. You know, I consider Mariah Carey black. But the one time I'm not coddling light-skinned feelings, which I do it a lot of times actually, people want to ignore the part where I consider light-skinned people black. I respect so many light-skinned people. I have so many light-skinned friends. You know, a lot of my friends from childhood were mixed people, were light-skinned people. I was bullied for the fact that, you know, I was a weird black girl. I've had darker skinned girls bully me. You know, I kind of understood from both sides of the spectrum of being light-skinned, but at the same time being considered a darker skinned girl. I understand what it feels like, but I'm not going to sit here and play victim and say, oh, well, girls didn't like me because I'm a light-skinned girl and I was prettier than them. Although I did at one time had my mom tell me that. I showed her a picture of one girl from school who is always bullying me, always picking on me, making me feel ugly, making me feel inferior, and just making me feel like I was just an inferior, goofy little black girl. And my mom was like, she's ugly. Look at her hair. You know, she's like ratchet. You know, she's not pretty. She's just jealous of you. You know, I was kind of fed that stuff, that internalized misogyny, that internalized colorism. And that's not good. So I do understand from both sides, and I've learned from my ignorance as well. I had a lot of internalized anti-blackness. I was up on some light-skinned tears back in 2012. I really was. But you know what? I learned. And I never felt like I was better than dark-skinned girls. Every time I heard things about dark-skinned girls, I feel like, why would you say that about any type of black girl? Because even though I'm not that dark, I still come from dark-skinned people. My dad is dark-skinned. My grandma is dark-skinned. You know, I have so many dark-skinned people in my family. Are you saying that because I come from dark-skinned people that I'm ugly? Because at the end of the day, you can look like Mariah Carey or Beyonce, but if you're saying that dark-skinned people are ugly, you're saying they are ugly as well because they come from those dark-skinned people. The light-skinned people that you say are so pretty, you know, with the long curly hair that look like Jenna Frumis or Jada Doll, or that look like Jasmine Sanders or even Rihanna, they come from dark-skinned people. They wouldn't look the way they look if it weren't for dark-skinned people. Dark-skinned people are just as beautiful as any other person. So I really wish that people would stop having this ideal that because someone is dark-skinned, especially as a woman, they aren't pretty. Because I never bought into that. I never thought that it was nice to say that. Because I always thought, well, regardless if they're light-skinned with green eyes or not, that doesn't mean that they are better because we're still black people. We're beautiful. You know, they are beautiful because of the fact that they may have certain features and we think, yeah, that's very pretty. But dark skin is pretty, wide noses are pretty, full lips are pretty, you know, nappy hair is pretty. Every type of blackness is pretty. But, you know, we can't say all blackness is pretty until we discuss colorism and light skin privilege and how people gas up light skinned people all of the time. So I just really wish people stop saying that I hate light-skinned people. Because sometimes I may get angry and say, damn, fuck light-skinned people, fuck light-skinned women. You know, I hate light-skinned people. We say that when we're mad. You know, we be like, say, you ain't black. We do. But it's because we're angry and like it's at the heat of the moment, because sometimes light-skinned people are just as bad as white people. They act like white people a lot of times, and then they will say, stop comparing us to white people. You don't even see us as your own people. And I told this one girl, it's hard to see you as one of us if you are distancing yourself from us or you're acting like an oppressor. If you're being so cold-hearted to dark-skinned people that you don't even want to listen to their issues outside of, well, we're all the same. you sound like a white person. And that's why so many people feel a type of way about light-skinned people and don't even feel like they're a part of the Black community, or even biracial people, because it's like how they act is just really hard to relate. Because how can we relate to someone that won't relate to us? You know, we can tell them blue in the face, hey, being brown or dark skinned, we were told that we weren't pretty enough, we weren't smart enough. And then they can sit there and say, oh, well, at least you weren't told that you weren't black enough, as if that's a big deal. Okay, a lot of people are told that they're not black enough. I was told I wasn't black enough because I talked white. I was told I wasn't black enough because I had proper grammar. I was told I wasn't black enough because I was smart. So everyone gets that, even dark-skinned people. It's not an experience that just light-skinned and or biracial people get. And I really wish people would stop acting like it's just a biracial experience or it's just a light-skinned experience to be told that you're not black enough, because we've all been told that. So I don't know why I have to keep reiterating the fact that light skin privilege does exist. If you are light skinned, you are seen as prettier as someone just because of the fact that you are light skinned. Even if you have certain features like nappy hair or wide nose, because you are light skinned, people will find you more attractive. But especially if you have like loose curly hair or like a thin nose, because as someone who is considered light skinned, I still don't have like the standard appearance of what a quote unquote pretty light skinned person is. And it's just a shame that people have this ideal of beauty, but it's true, you know? And like you can tell people all the time, you know, I have low self-esteem because of colorism. I flip through magazines and what do I see? You know, the same type of women, unless they are Beyonce or Rihanna. I go on Instagram and I see like the Taz Angels, or I see like the girls from like Wildin' Out or something like that. And they have that look. Like I said, you know, I follow Jada Doll and I like Jada Doll. And I sometimes look at pictures of her friend Jenna Frumies on Instagram, even though she has me blocked on Twitter. But sometimes I look at some of her photos and I notice that when it comes to her brigade of pretty girls, pretty black girls, they are all light skinned with that same look. All of them have light skin, long blonde curly hair. They all virtually look the same. And I have nothing against them. You know, I don't think it's their fault. You know, I don't think, you know, I should blame them. I don't think that you should blame light-skinned women for what black men perpetuate, but I think many of them are complicit. I think they are. So for you to say don't blame light-skinned women, well, okay, but I blame the ones who benefit from it and don't say anything about it. So you can't act like light-skinned women are just innocent people, because they are just as much the perpetuators of colorism as light-skinned black men, as dark-skinned black men, as black people in general, you know? And that's all I have to say for right now. You know, I also wanted to say light-skinned people are at a high advantage because they have less jail time sentence. They are considered smarter. They are most likely to get hired over a dark-skinned black person. But you know, you should just all look it up, because I don't got time to explain it, because I explained it many times before. I made videos about it before. But have a great day.